Recording Mr. Henry Jones in his home. Mr. Jones is Chuck Chansey, raised around the Corscold area, and he is sharing with us his sense of his own identity as a Native American of this area. Mr. Henry Jones.
Okay, I think one of the things I'd like to start out with is that contrary to the white man's point of view, we think we've always been here. Until I have proof, until they show me proof-wise that somebody migrated over the Bering Strait or come across on those little dinghies from China or something like that, I just can't believe it. I can't believe it because we had a great civilization in this continent. The Mayans down in Mexico, for example, made those huge pyramids. Some of those pyramids are just very scientifically engineered, and they've had a calendar. They've had scientific, they can go tell by stars in some of their works, and I just really can't go along with the idea that we didn't necessarily. Who says that? Why would God? We believe in God, and our great spirit is God to us, and just as much as what you have in your Bible. I think it could be the same person, not person, but being, a great being, whatever that might be. We think the same thing, and a lot of our beliefs is on similar lines. We prayed to the Spirit, different name maybe, but the same, I think same being, a great, whatever it was, whatever you want to call God. And so for that reason, I just can't go along that we're always trying to be taught that our civilization started maybe over in China or someplace over there. With that, I think one of the things, I was born here in Corscold in 1923. This was the year, a year later, I was born a non-citizen. Wasn't an American citizen till I was 1924 when they passed the blanket citizenship that they give Indians in total America. My mother and father were reared in this. They're from this area. I was born up here at where the Broken Bit is in Corscold, just up about a couple of miles above Corscold there, in the canyon there. On my father's side, my grandfather was a Dutchman, I think, from Pennsylvania. I think that's from some of the material that I've dug up. And I don't even remember my grandmother's Mary was her name on my father's side, but beyond her, I don't have any idea who her mother was or her father. I'm lost there. On my mother's side, she was fathered by a Spaniard from Seville, Spain, and he left. He went back to Spain when she was about 12 years old, which is about in the 1890s or something like that. My mother died in 1964. She was about 84 years old, and she had her history went back quite a bit. But again, I never never questioned her too much about our back history and our relation on my grandmother's side, on her side, other than her father, and she had one brother and one sister. A small family. My mother, she had 12 kids, but due to poor condition, they were all of them were born at home, and I suppose due to poor sanitation, poor operation, home wasn't too good, I suppose. And, they 9 out of the 12, 8 rather. There's let me see. There's 5 of us that survived to adulthood.
Are you the oldest?
No, I'm the youngest.
You're the youngest.
I'm the youngest. My sister, my oldest sister, she died from perhaps cancer or something. She got hit in the stomach with a basketball. My oldest brother, he died swimming. Had a swimming accident down here by Millerton, up here by Millerton. Died from that. And my next oldest brother, he just died here not too long, about 10 years ago. So. And I have one sister living. And one of the things that I bring up, especially when I'm talking to the younger generation, is that California has always been rich. It has always had a pretty good season, as you well know. However, we didn't have the smog that we have nowadays that is ruining a lot of our environment. We don't have these chemicals that is ruining our valley. The waters were pure, good, and not necessarily pure, but they were good. They were drinkable. The vegetation was edible, good, edible. Nowadays, it's questionable whether you want to go out there and get anything in the country because of our polluted air. Winter, of course, brought a lot of good snow. Most of the time, good snow, a lot of rain. Brought the animals down out of the high country, brought them down into the 2,000 foot, 1,500 foot to the valley floor. A lot of times, the deer would come on down. So the good winter did that favor to us, as well as brought us abundance of water for the summer, a long hot summer. And the valley was rich. My mother tells me the oats and things up this high down all through here. In a decent year, of course. They had a lot of antelope, I think it is. Had a lot of antelope here. They had. She saw these. She saw them, the antelopes. She saw some of the grizzlies. She saw those. Deer was abundant. And I don't agree with some of the books that I've read that the Yokuts weren't hunters, that they were diggers. In fact, they called them diggers in a derogatory meaning a lot of times, because they did dig, but that was just something, a delicacy. They dug wild potatoes. They dug a lot of wildflower bulbs, which are delicious, which I have eaten. They're good. And yeah, they dug, but they also hunted game. They used bow and arrow. Sometimes they used dogs to run deer down, run antelope down, or whatever else they might want. And they got their game.
They used obsidian for the arrow points. I
They
believe.
used obsidian. They traded for those from over the hill. This is where the Monos come in. You see, originally Monos were from east of the Sierras, but due to a lot of trading, heavy trading, more and more begin to come over and begin to stay, and they done a lot of the trading. A lot of the chances would meet and gather up around Mammoth Pool, maybe over around Huntington or down Mono Hot Spring, in those places, and they trade. You know, acorn, salmon. See, they didn't get salmon on the other side. They did here.
From the San Joaquin River.
San Joaquin River,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. They traded a lot of different roots to make baskets. They traded, I suppose that, I said salmon already, but let's see what else. Other kinds of, you know, like sour berries, like sour berries and manzanita berries. They make awful good cider. They traded for that. In return, they brought over pinon, obsidian. They brought over there's a certain kind of red paint that went good on the baskets and things that and different painting that they done here on this side. They brought over salt, like from Mono Lake, which is salty, and they brought salt from there.
Mr. Jones, I want to ask you a question while you're talking, because I think white men have a lot of prejudices and misunderstandings about the Indian way of life.
Yeah.
And we speak of the reservation, for example, and you pointed out a moment ago, no, that's not the way it was. Describe for us, what would it look like to be, if there were an Indian community, what does an Indian community look like in terms of its physical appearance? Like, are there several houses? Is there an organization to the Indian community back in the 20s and 30s that you remember as a young boy? What would the organization look like for the community?
Organization was nil. There wasn't, because when they tore up the lifestyle, Savage in particular, when they tore it up, they also tore up the political family setting. Like I mentioned, tribalists. Chuck Chancellor had a lot of little tribelets, and in a tribe you would have a leader. He may not necessarily have been a chief or anything like that, but he was a leader. They in turn had a messenger. They had a messenger who would go back and forth and relay messages to the different tribelets, and they were heavy on having festive fandangos. A lot of them call them powwows nowadays, but it is celebration. These celebrations served many purposes. It brought them together, and they talked their problems off. They traded. They even became perhaps romantically involved with other tribes from other areas, or members even of the Chukchansis, but from the other area. See, the Chukchansis were from Fresno River clear to Kings River. To get out of the bloodline, these fandangos was a place where they met and mated and it broke away from their own bloodline. In those days, prior to disaster, they had a lot of different villages. In fact, they've been investigating a village site up here by 22 Mile House. You read about that and saw that? Well, very likely, and I don't doubt it, is one of the village sites.
Chukchansi?
Chukchansi? Yes, Chukchansi. Definitely Chukchansi. Monos did not come down this lower because that was the Chukchansis didn't allow that. This was the Chukchansi territory, the Chukchansi country. They were allowed to stay up higher. Most of your monas you'll find along the 3,000 foot, 25, well, about 2,500 foot elevation, Northport, 2,600 foot elevation. Albury, that's Mono. Dunlap, same elevation. Did you see the pattern? Yeah. Well, those are traders. They traded over there in Dunlap. I don't know much further on than that. I've never really went down there and talked with anybody, but I can see the location of the Monos, and I understand what brought them over here, which was trading, and but I think they had an understanding that they traded, but they stayed up there. They stayed out far enough to get out of the snow, which is 2,000 to 2,500 foot to 3,000 foot, but they weren't. I don't think it was agreeable for them to come any lower than that, other than socializing. Now, I don't mean that they weren't allowed to come down here, and so I'm talking about living. Their communities stayed up there. They came around, and I'm sure they even intermarried, because we have a lot of Chukchansi Mono cross relationship. In fact, my kids are half Monos. My first wife was a Mono, and all my first kids are from her, and that makes them half Chukchansi, half Mono. So they're back to 1924 when we got citizenship. That gave us partial citizenship. It did not give us full. I tell you why. Because we didn't get the full citizenship till 1950. See, I served 30 years in World War II as partial citizen.
And where did you serve?
In Europe.
In Europe?
I toured France with General Patton over there in 1944.
And you were a non-citizen
I
at the
was
time
a
that you were in
citizen,
the
but
war.
I was limited. I tell you why. We were not allowed to. We were not allowed to buy liquor. That in turn did not allow us to. If we could not buy a store, which would benefit us from a livelihood. Mexicans could, the blacks could, and a lot of them did. We could not.
The Chukchansi could not.
Chukchansi could not. We couldn't eat in restaurants. That was no.
Couldn't eat in the very same restaurants that you were fighting and
To preserve.
To preserve.
Yeah. We could not, like I said, we could not buy property that had alcohol related to it. We could not drink. We could not go in and have a social drink in a bar. So, consequence of that was that the Indians would buy, when they go to a store and got somebody that would buy it for them, they'd buy several cases at a time. If they bought wine, they bought several gallons at a time. And you get that much booze around you, you're going to drink it till you drink it up. And it was a terrible tragedy to the Indian people. 1950, they finally passed a law, and And we were challenged. Everywhere we went, we were challenged. You know, you're Indian, aren't you? Oh no, I'm Mexican. I'm Gonzalez, or I'm Rodriguez, or always having to lie about my heritage, and it hurt. But if I wanted to drink, that's what I had to do. I was fortunate that I had a lot more self-control of myself. I didn't allow myself to get controlled by the booze like a lot of them around me did. A lot of my cousins and whatnot, my age, they just really was absorbed by alcohol and naturally unemployment. I mean, they were fit to work when they get too much alcohol. Employment was a very tough thing on Indian people. Nobody wanted to hire them because they had a bad reputation, which was perhaps justified. Most of them were alcoholics and couldn't be dependable, I suppose. But for some of them that were sincere, it was still hard. After I come home from the service, in 1947, I went to barber school. I did a quick profession. I went through the school and I took the state board examination and I passed with flying colors. And went out and looked for a job, couldn't find it. I already had a family. In the Mexican barber shops wouldn't hire me because I didn't know how to speak Spanish. And I tell them I'm Indian, I don't understand Spanish. That was automatically no job. The white shops, and I can't really blame them because 99% of their customers were white, but they wouldn't hire me for that reason. And it took me 5 years before I was able to get a job in barbering so that I could get my license, my journeyman license. 5 years. The way I got it, I went to one of the fellows that went to barber school with me. He was working here in Fresno, and he had a shop, and I told him my story. I said, well, I'm sure having a hard time. This is after about 5 years. I said, I'm sure having a hard time. I'd sure like to barber, but as I said, I just can't get a job and get my apprenticeship served. He says, well, it's the first chance I get. I says, I'll let you know. He was an Archie from Arkansas. And about a couple of months later, he called me, gave me a job. And I served my apprenticeship under him. And I've been a barber ever since now, which was 1952. Barbering was good to me. I worked for him a year and a half, almost 2 years. And as soon as I got he knew when I went there that as soon as I got my journeyman's license that I would want to go on my own and perhaps get me a shop. But he didn't care. He said, that's fine, that's progress. So I did, and I got me a barber shop here on Blackstone Avenue, right there next to Gettysburg and Blackstone in the Paradise Shopping Center. And I stayed there for 16 years, till 1970. During 1970, I was going to school, and there was other conflicts with my landlord, so I decided to let the shop go, and I sold the shop, and I just went and got me a job with one of the barbers that I'd become acquainted with in the union, Bob Kirby, and I've been working for him 19 years now. So, and meanwhile, he was very lenient with me. He allowed me to fit my schedule around my classes at Fresno State, and I was working full time for him and going to school, carrying 12 to 15 units at Fresno State. I had to work. I had a family. My children were in high school during that time. I couldn't quit work. I had to work. I got several grants, and I got, especially when I went to Fresno State, I got a loan so that it could carry me through. And I made it.
You went to Fresno City and got an AA degree from there.
Yes.
And then you got a Bachelor of Science degree?
Bachelor of Arts.
Bachelor of Arts.
BA from
BA.
University of Fresno. Yeah. And I got my degree from there in 1979, which is not too long ago. However, a lot of people may think, well, what good did it do him? To me, it's done me a world of good. I've got a lot of good. I feel good in here about it. It's a satisfaction that I enjoy, an accomplishment. For me, it was an accomplishment that I earned. I worked for it. I put in many hours in here studying, and you can see a lot of my books there. That's only half of them. I got a big stack out there, and I've read the biggest portion of them.
Really made yourself out of a lot of personal struggles.
Mm-hmm.
You've overcome them and created a world for yourself, haven't you?
On top of all this, I've always been interested in the plight of Indian people, and I began when I came back from the service. One of the first things I heard about was that some attorney Foster, Mr. Foster, Attorney Foster, was one of the attorneys that was filing for some kind of a settlement with the state of California, and they were looking for Indian people to support them and so forth. So I joined 1946. I joined the Indians of California organization.
What organization is that called? The Indians?
Indians of California. It was just it was a kind of a political specific for the settlement. Nothing else. That all is geared to that.
And that's a combination of Western Mono.
All of them.
All of them. Okay.
All within the boundary of California.
Have you been involved politically with that organization then?
I was. I clear up till our last settlement, which is in 1974. We got a $29.1 million settlement for the state of California. But we got a lesser settlement about 1952, and I was involved during that time. I became involved in 46. Other things that I was concerned about are different things, like I think it was 53, 54. Congressman Sisk introduced a termination bill, which was supposed to terminate the reservations, allow them to divide it up and get patent for their different little pieces within the reservation. I objected to that. I had a conference with Congressman Sisk. And I told him, I said, that's not good. I said, the Indian people aren't ready for that. They're too far back in society to even know what to do with their acres, that they can do anything that they want to. A lot of them, and they did. And right away, so some of them saw a chance to make a few dollars. So they sold them their shares. I told him that. I said, it's not good. It's a bad bill. And but Table Mountain went for it anyhow. This Table Mountain Ranchery up here. Big Sandy went for it, and Cold Springs went for it. Picayune went for it in course school too. But in about 15, 20 years, they saw that it was bad, so they applied for to be returned to reservation because they weren't able to handle it. They could see they were getting into trouble. They would end up losing all their land rather than making any progress with it. They just you have different ones that take advantage of, even within the Indian community, you have different ones come in and try to take over and take advantage of the less educated or less knowledgeable Indian people, the elderly people, and things like that. So I was involved in that. I was just telling you there was different then, okay, yeah. Citizenship. Resentment because I had to serve World War II whether I wanted to or not. I didn't have a choice. I was drafted. Even though I couldn't go have a friendly little glass of whiskey or a little draft, I still had to go and put in my time fighting somewhere. In my case, it was over in the European theater of war.
That is, really ironic, Mr. Jones, because I experienced the bitterness with you. The same military force that had been used in people like Major Savage
Yes.
to kill your own people. You then were drafted to serve within that same military
Yes.
type of organization.
Yes, exactly. I've been aware of that. That you're putting that right out, just like I think of it. Exactly. What he came here and tore up our communities, our tribe. Then 50, 60 years later, then I have to go and serve and preserve his tribe that Adolf Hitler wanted. Ironic is right. But
how did you make peace with yourself about that then? Because at some point you must have said, I am Chuck Chansey, that's who I am, I want to serve, I want to live in this community, I've got to live with myself. How did you do that then, sir?
I just decided, you know, if you can't beat them, then the next thing is to join them.
Within their system.
Work within the system. Not necessarily accept everything within the system, but work within the system. I've been able to do that quite comfortably. It's not to say that sometime when I'm reading some of these atrocious stories that I don't get kind of hot behind the collar a little bit, but then I ration that out and dedicate myself more toward what I'm doing today, which is trying to better the Indian life.
And I want to come back to the politics that you're sharing with us in a moment, but I wanted to go back in your past again one more time and ask you, because education is so important to you, I'd like you to talk about going to school in Course Gold and where you went to school. I'm particularly interested in what happened to you the first time you sat through an American history class and you saw this blatant hole in the history stories about your own people and that they weren't being taught. I'd like to talk about your education as a young man.
Yeah. Well, for some reason, as a youngster coming up, when I was up till probably almost high school, I was really ignorant of what history was, what had happened to my people. Like I told you earlier, my mother, she didn't talk to me about that. She didn't tell me how badly they'd been treated or anything. She never told me too much about the army coming through. She told me some about the miners and so forth. But going to school, went to PQ, and then I finished up in core school. It was just interesting to me. I wanted to do well. I thought even from about probably third, fourth grade up that I wanted to do the best I could. And I think I on my own to a great extent, with a little encouragement from my mother. My mother and father, they separated when I was before I can even remember. So I never lived with them, but I lived with my mother. She never pressured me. She just always encouraged me, and she always said, "You need to do as good as you can. So study as much as you can, so you'll learn."
Did you enjoy studying?
I did. Yes, I did. I can remember some of my math projects that my stepfather helped me with. I'd ask him. He asked me, for example, he helped me to learn multiplication. I learned to multiply. When I was in third grade, I learned to multiply clear up to 12 times 12, just forwards and backwards. When I was in third grade, and I like to read. I read considerably whatever could you have in the school. We didn't have no library. We didn't have no library.
Where would be the nearest library for you as a boy?
Madeira.
In Madeira.
Yeah.
Would be the closest one.
About 35 miles away in Madeira.
Did the school have its own library then? When you went to school?
You couldn't hardly call it. They had less books than I have today.
Where did you get your books then?
Well, they had the curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
They had the curriculum. But I'm talking about other books.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about what you would look in the library for enjoyment, or for knowledge, or other than what the teacher's banging you with every day.
Where did you get your book? Where would you find a book like that just to enjoy?
I didn't.
You didn't have one?
Didn't.
Okay.
It was all school books that I read up until I got into, until I got into high school. I graduated from core school. Then I was in about when I was in about the 6th grade, and this was in the 30s when the times are very tough. For economic reasons, my mother sent me to an Indian mission up in Norfolk. And I stayed up there for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. But I still didn't get discouraged. I still enjoyed the school.
What was it like to be there at the Indian mission? Was that a good experience?
It was a regimented experience. I don't think it was too bad. I see a lot of positive good from it. It helped me in discipline, I think. I learned a lot of discipline there. I can think back on some of the discipline now that was good for us. For example, when we do something minor that wasn't good, and for punishment he'd give us a tablespoon of castor oil. And, that's pretty rotten stuff. But physically it cleaned me out and done me a lot of good, for quite a while after that. That really wasn't that bad. At the time I thought, oh man, this stuff is terrible. But we learned to work together at that school. We went out and cut all our winter supply of wood, for example. We'd all as young fellas get out there and, with axes and cut a lot of live oak and clearing out the area of live oak, Manson, and stuff like that.
And this would be an Indian mission school then, in which both Western Mono
Yes.
and Yokuts were attending
Yes.
classes together then at that point.
We even stayed together in the. It was just a place that I stayed. We went to North First School, which is a public school.
Okay.
It was a public school that I went to, but the mission was just a place where homeless Indians or deprived Indians, or like in my case, it was just, parents are having a hard time living, not enough food and stuff like that. Clothes was another thing.
Did the mission people leave you alone religiously, or did they also try to convert you to Christianity?
Well, we had to go to church every Sunday. That's part of the program. I mean, we didn't have a choice.
Did you mind that?
No, not too much. I didn't mind it too much because I was still green to what the history is about. I really didn't mind it that much. I just took it as a part of necessity. I enjoyed some of it. A lot of it was interesting stories. Whether I believed them or not is really immaterial, because I already had my kind of religion more or less told to me, and I understood it, so it wasn't a great deal of conflict there. They tried to knock it out of us. Not physically, but I mean they tried to. I'd say probably brainwash us, try to make us believe that theirs is the only religion. Ours was a heathenistic religion, That's a gross mistake that, I don't know whether it's a mistake or a gross lie that they told us in those years. But anyhow, I graduated, I come back and finally talk to my folks and bring me back, and I graduated up here at Corso about 1939, I think it was. Then I went to Sherman Institute out of Riverside. I went on my own. I wanted to go. Years ago, a lot of the Indians were forced to go down there, militarily forced. I talked with one of my older brother-in-law, and he was forced to go down there. He ran away from down there couple of different times, and each time they come after him and hauled him back down. So it wasn't by choice for those people. But in the 39 and 40, it was my choice to go down there. So, and there's a lot of benefit down there if you wanted to avail yourself of the benefit. They had a good ag school, and you could learn to run a ranch. You could learn to run a dairy. You could learn to grow things. They had a carpenter shop. You could learn to be a carpenter if you wanted to. There was a electrician shop. There's several different guys went into working with PG&E and things like that. There was a paint shop. One of the friends that I've formulated years after, he's from Northern California. He took a painting down there, and he made quite a living out of it all these years. There was a print shop down there, but I didn't stay there long enough to really get any kind of real good value out of what they had to offer. I knew it was there, but my folks were so poor that I just felt really neglected down there. I just felt. I remember writing home once and begging for them to send me some stamps and envelopes so that I could write them. I mean, that's how poor we were. The other fact that made it bad was that then you had other Indians from like Saboba down there, Palm Springs. They were already getting money for their land. like they got it today, you know. And these Indians there, they were around the flash and their dog, a lot of dollars, you know. And that hurt when you had to. And here I am. I can't even write home because I don't have any stamps. I could get paper and perhaps found envelopes on it, but I didn't have stamps to send a letter home. And I felt bad in that respect. So I used it as an excuse. It was just strictly an excuse to quit the following year. Then, like I said, I was down there about a year and a half. I come home around the Christmas and I looked around and got me a little job on a ranch. And I was in the 9th grade.
I'm sorry, you were in the 9th grade?
9th grade.
I want to ask you what year that would have been.
About 1940.
Wait, okay.
About
You were in the 9th grade
40,
about 1940.
40. Yeah, 1940, because when the war broke out in 41, I was working on this ranch up at Corso Farm. I was already working. I had been working for some time.
What did you do on the ranch? A general ranch hand?
General ranch hand, yeah. Cut wood, hauled hay, plowed with the old-time plow. Mm-hmm. 2 horses in front. We cut a lot of wood with a buzz saw, you know, circular saw.
Side 2, we are continuing in the interview with Henry Jones in his home on September 1st, 1989. Mr. Jones finished the first side by sharing that in 1940 he returned back to the Coarsegold area and became a farmer, or was hired on a ranch near Coarsegold. We're now ready to continue. We're talking about his life after 1940. Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Okay. And when I got that job, I began to like the little money that I got and started to accumulate a little bit. Looked pretty big to me, so I says, well, why not stay here and just do a little ranching for a while? So I did, and I worked for them about a year and a half, I guess. And I decided, well, I want to try something else. So I went to logging up in out of Yosemite. Went up there, and I found right away that what I was making on the ranch was really peanuts. Up there on the ranch, I was making about $60 a month, and up in the logging. My salary jumped to about $230 to $300 a month, which is a great big jump. About that time, then I was drafted. I got my greetings, and well, of course, that following winter, I spent my summer working in the logging. But in the fall, of course, logging quits because of the weather and so forth. That following March, I got my greetings from Uncle Sam, and I went off willingly. They sent me to Colorado Springs, Colorado. Fort Carson, Camp Carson at that time. Took my basic training there. and by no choice of mine, they put me in an ambulance company. I guess they knew that I could drive, I suppose, or I don't know why they would put me in the ambulance company, because I had no idea anything about an ambulance company or an ambulance, so I was surprised when I got in there, but I didn't object. I just, there again, I just learned as much as I could about the operation and what they expected of us. Went on a lot of, I was a good driver, by the way, I was an excellent driver. And I was used to mountain driving, which I think they might have been one of the reasons that they chose me. And we drove through a lot of mountainous area there in Colorado country on the Royal Gorge there, up through the other side of Pikes Peak, and a lot of good rough country. I got a lot of good experience. Then they, about middle of September, they sent us to Tennessee, about 70 miles south of Tennessee, Shelbyville, for maneuvers out in the countryside there. And we just tore the heck out of those poor people's land there. And we were there till we were out there on the maneuver field till Christmas Eve. And at that time there was about 4 inches of snow, and it was down around about 5-10 degrees below zero, and we were out there, had our pup tents right out on that frozen turf, surviving good though. And when they brought us into a permanent camp, within a week's time, there was over half of us. We were down with almost pneumonia.
Wow.
Real ironic. I mean, you come into a nice, comfortable, warm bed, and then you break down with colds, and boy, we really got sick. From there, they took us to, in January, they took us to Camp Kilmer, New Jersey, which was a deportation camp for overseas, and then from there, in about 6 days, we stayed there, and we went up to New York and boarded the Queen Mary. This was in mid-January '44. And they took us from there in about 5 days to Glasgow, Scotland, and from we unloaded there at Glasgow, and then went down into central England there to just out of Hereford, little town named Hereford, England. And we were there till we stayed there about 3 months, and then nearing invasion time, they moved us down to Southampton. And on D-Day itself, I and about a whole platoon, which is 10 ambulances, we were stationed along the waterfront down there, right across from Isle of Wight, a huge bay in there where they put together, they created their armada, their invasion armada. Well, when they pulled out, we stayed there because they were preparing for the worst. It happened that they had so many casualties that the ports along Southampton and those different places would be too full. They would have brought them in as far as they could in next to Isle of Wight. Then they would float them in. They would have floated them in on barges and right on up to the beach, and we'd have picked them up and took them to the nearest hospital. We stayed there about 10 days in that area, about 10 days after D-Day, and then we boarded one of those transport, one of those Liberty ship, I think they called them, just a work ship, just some of the haul things. They loaded our whole company, they put our ambulances down in the hole, and we got all our gear went aboard and it took us across. Then about a mile or so out, mile and a half or so out there, then they put us out on barges and sent us on in.
As an ambulance driver, were you also then a trained medical personnel?
Limited, yes. We studied. We had a huge. We had a pretty. To me, it was huge. We had a manual about that. There's a lot of basics, like tourniquets, things like that. We could take care of IVs if necessary. Whatever they called them in those days, I don't remember, but things of that nature. But it was not our job. It was only emergency that we would do something like that. And our job was to transport them safely as possible back to the hospital from the collecting station, which is anywhere from a quarter of a mile to a half mile from the front line. See, they would, and it is always at night, because you don't, on the front line, you don't move during the day when they can see you. Wounded, they begin to come back on jeeps. They created, they set up bars on the jeep with crossbars that they could set these litters on, and bring the wounded out on those, and then we'd transfer that into our ambulance and then haul them back. All night work, every bit of it night work. Never drove with. I was over the. Well, I was in the war all the time. I was in the war there from 44, summer of 44, or June of 44 till May of 45. Never drove with lights. No lights. Oh, just. In fact, our headlights were covered with GI paint and court-martial offense to scrape it off. Such as that.
Would the personnel then, were there lights on in the back of the ambulance then at all?
The only thing we had is what we call the victory light. Mm-hmm. It is little fluorescent deal, not very big, about like that.
Right.
About like that. Maybe you've seen it perhaps. Mm-hmm. But the little V, they only about that wide, and you can see them. Say within, you can see those little lights, see those little fluorescent lights. Not more than 30 feet away, if that far. It is just, it is just so that you could perhaps.
He has indicated that it was approximately 2 inches long and maybe 1 inch wide.
Yeah. But you learn to improvise. For example, in deep within Germany, not deep within Germany, but along there, out of Aachen, Germany, there in the Hearst forest, driving at night. You improvise by looking up in the sky and following what light you could see up there, because you could not see your road. All you do is feel. You drive along with feeling with your steering wheel. But we drive with that image up there. There's just a little bit light up there.
You were driving, navigated by the stars then?
Well, not so much stars, but the open sky up there.
I see. The open sky above you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And by the feel of the road.
And the feel of the road. And many times I feel the front end jiggling around there, hitting some rough air, and kind of turn real quickly to get out of what it was. I have no idea what it was. And one of the nights we made a turn and took a shortcut and ended up in the stream about 15, 20 feet deep, something like that. Upside, we were empty. Luckily, we were going back. We were empty, and we didn't get a true reading up here above us, and we took shortcut and went upside down and on about about 3 o'clock in the morning, wintertime, wet, cold.
How did you get up right side up then?
The Army had equipment to do that.
I see.
I don't remember how we got back. We were about, it seemed like to me we were probably 2 or 3 miles from our destination. I think if nothing else we walked, I think. I can't remember that far back. I think we walked into a camp and reported, and the next morning they went with a big tow truck and pulled it out. That didn't hurt the ambulance. Just put a little dent in one of the fenders. That's about all. I just got in and drove from then on. Didn't hurt us either. Didn't hurt me.
You've used the pronoun we a couple of times. How many people would be riding on the ambulance?
Two. A driver and an assistant. I was the driver and I had an assistant. I was also a corporal of our squad. There was 10 ambulances to a squad, and I was a corporal in charge of that. And I got the message relayed from headquarters where they needed. See, we were a bastard outfit. They used us where the understandably where the need was great, where their injury was heavy. That's where they needed us. So when they needed us down here, maybe 5-10 miles down the front or someplace else, message would come in at headquarters and it would be relayed to me. Go down so and so. Go down there. Go here. Go there. And so we'd go. We'd just fluctuate back and forth, all up and down, until we broke through. Then we were forever trying to keep up because we were having to double. We were picking up patients, going back maybe 30 miles, 40 miles to a hospital. By the time we come back, they've moved up maybe 10, 15 miles, so we'd have to go looking for them. I was in the middle of that Battle of the Bulge. The Battle of the Bulge there was a pretty kind of a scary operation because we didn't know what was going to happen. The Germans, we knew the Germans were making a big pincer movement around us, but we didn't know whether they were going to make it or not. And meanwhile, we were trying to go back to head it off, and with General Patton's. By that time, I was already out of General Patton's Third Army. I was up there in the First Army because I said that they moved us wherever they needed us, and so we were able to, I guess, stall Hitler's attempt to pincer us off there. And then made a beeline into Germany, and I went across the Ramagen Bridge. That's kind of one of the only, I think, only bridge, or one of the first bridges that they captured across the Rhine River. And we'd been going across it about 4 or 5 days, I guess, and the bridge collapsed. But the engineers had already put up 2 sets of pontoon bridges across it, so that didn't slow us down any at all. But I went across it with a load that very morning around about 2 o'clock in the morning, and went back about 30, 40 miles and to the nearest evacuation hospital back there. And when I come back around about 9 o'clock the next morning, I see it all upside down. All tore up. Then the other interesting thing right during that time too is that I also got to see the very first German jet plane. Was flying back and forth there, and they were making attempts to hit that bridge, but they were missing it a mile. But it was so fast; it was just really really something to see that plane go. Our P-38s and P-47s would be going along Lebanon, and this German jet would dive right down and come out ahead of them. Our planes are going roughly maybe 200, 250 miles an hour cruising. That plane, especially in the dive, could go dive about, I think, around about 500 to 550 miles an hour. So it'd shoot out on the other side.
In the years that you were in the military and driving, what I'm getting back to is a little bit of, what was it like to be a Chukchansi in the military? Did anyone ask you, are you Native American? You could say then, while you were in the military, in war, I am Chukchansi, I am Native American.
No.
No.
No, it was never mentioned.
Never mentioned?
At all. Never mentioned. No. We well, we were all grouped together. We were all pretty similar, and never there was no favoritism or discrimination or anything in there. It was all pretty dry cut. Yeah, so. My experience in the service actually is favorable. I don't have any bitter memories of anything that was prejudicial or anything like that.
Were you wounded?
No, I was fortunate enough never got a wound.
Were you awarded any distinguished medals?
No, about the nearest thing that I got was a good conduct medal and a European theater medal and some stripes that indicated that we had a special kind of stripes on our jacket that indicated we were over in the European theater. And so when the war was finished, we come home, and I come home in November of 45, and by spring of 46 is when I heard, went to this meeting that I was telling you earlier about this Indians of California organization, and they were telling us that they wanted to file for some kind of a settlement, and perked up and I joined and worked with them. Went to different meetings. Went to several meetings in San Francisco, hearings in the courts in San Francisco. And in 1952, we got a settlement for about, I think by the time they deducted a whole bunch of stuff, we got about $5 million, which amounted to about $150 for each individual living. We didn't think that was enough, so we started working again and began to work for another settlement. We thought that was more equitable. And there again, same procedures, running back and forth to different hearings, a couple of court hearings in San Francisco, and finally, about 1968, I think we finally did win a settlement from them for $29.1 million. That was a compromise, and I kind of felt betrayed by our attorneys, because we were asking for we wanted to get enough where we could really do some good with the tribe, for the tribes. We were asking for $120 million. Did our attorneys browbeat us with the idea that, well, we better compromise that. The government wants to give you $29.1 million opposed to $120 million that you're asking, and I think we better take that, because we might not get nothing, you know. So, under pressure, and I voted against it. I voted against accepting it. I voted. It just wasn't enough to do any good. And when we finally got the settlement, the 29.1 million only amounted to a little over $600 a piece. What can you do with $600? And you sell your soul, your country, for $600. No compensation for all the timber that they've been taking out of our forest. No compensation for all the gold that come out of our countryside. No compensation for all the oil down here along Kalinga and down in Bakersfield. Just barrels and barrels of it. They wanted to settle for 29.1 million. To me, it was a slap in the face, and I voted against it, but I didn't turn the money down. I said, well, go ahead and take it, and I took it. After that, 1961, starting about 60, when I say we, there's one friend of mine, Harvey and I, he was a customer and I was cutting hair during the time. I had my own barbershop here. And there's some sad situation down in Santa Rosa, down by Lemoore. Some poor Indians were down there, camped out under, in wintertime, camped out under an oak tree, sleeping in a car, out in that cold wintertime fog. And the story got in the newspaper, and the community of Fresno, a lot of people felt sorry for them and wanted to donate things to them. And we had no organization to accept their donation. Nothing. Not even a council. Not here. Not down in the valley. So this Harvey Ince and I, we decided, by God, we ought to do something about it. And I said, I'm with you. And I said, you bet we ought to do something about it. I said, it's a shame when we can't, when people want to give something to our poor people that's suffering and they have no place to turn. I says, I had a nice big long, about a 64-foot barbershop, and I only used the front end of it. I says, we can put a lot of that stuff right in the back of my shop, and we'll haul it down to them. So we did that, and that began our group starting to get together. And a couple of months or so, we called a meeting of all the Indian people that we knew. We went around and said, let's have a meeting. Let's go down to the barbershop and talk things over and see if we can create some kind of organization that can help ourselves, help other Indian people at the same time. So we did, and we got people from North Fork come down. I think one or two people from Albury. Dunlap. Ironically, I never got a soul from Corso, where I was born and raised. I told them about it. I couldn't get through to them. And so we got this Sierra Indian Center started, and we give it the name. We assessed ourselves some dues, $1 a month, and so forth.
What's the name of the organization again?
Sierra Indian Center Incorporated.
Sierra Indian Center Incorporated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
the central office then is here in Fresno?
Central office right here.
Right here.
This is it.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I thought I had a. This is our logo. That's the organization.
Are these the recent officers here?
Yes.
Current officers?
Current officers, yes.
I'd like to record, looking at an insignia, Sierra Indian Center officers. Henry C. Jones, Sr., President. Arlene Crow, Vice President. Pauline Lewis, Treasurer. Betty Lewis, Laboran.
Laboran. Mm-hmm.
Recreation.
Secretary. Secretary.
Secretary. A very fine letterhead, official stationery.
And with the formation, we begin the community will hit the paper, let them know that we're organized, give them my address at the barbershop, and a lot of people responded by bringing food, blankets, clothes, and things like that. We were able to distribute to those people in particular down in Lemoore, so we were able to help them that way. We couldn't help them monetarily because we were just struggling along too, you know.
And that was in 1960?
60, yes. Around about 60, what about 62, 63 maybe, 62 I think, the Fresno County Economic Opportunities Commission was formed. And being the chairman of the Sierra Indian Center at that time, I was chosen to be a representative on the EOC commission, and I was a charter member. Yeah, I was a charter member on that EOC, and in that capacity, we the conditions of the Indian people in the general area, Lemoore, Dunlap, Norfolk, Corso, North, and Sycamore and Albury, and around Fresno. And we filed for a grant to start a self-help organization. In fact, we called it a self-help Indian organization. And with that, we were able to get jobs for young high school children that needed extra money to go to high school.
Where did you get the grant, sir?
It come down through the EOC.
Okay.
It come through them.
Okay.
From Washington, of course.
It was a federal grant?
It was federal grant, yes.
And you were able to get jobs for some of your young students?
Yeah. We found jobs, a few jobs around here. We found jobs at one of the Air Force bases down out of Riverside there. That they used about 15 kids down there, young, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids down there. Then we were also able to send kids to up in the Bay Area, younger kids, young school kids, second, third, fourth, fifth graders, up to the Bay Area to live with the different families for a week, just kind of see the city life and get the entertainment, whatever they had to offer, and they done quite well with the kids. My kids, I know they talked about going to Candlestick Park, where they play the baseball, football now. That was a great treat. One of my daughters talked about going for a helicopter ride. She thought that was fabulous, and she did. And we also brought in the Save the Children program. They in turn funded school children for enough money for clothes and little miscellaneous items to help out. So it was good. And in about the 1960, I think it was about 65. See, I hadn't graduated from high school. I quit when I was just finished the 9th grade.
Yes.
So about 1965, while I was running a barbershop, while I was a member of the EOC, while I was going to school out here to Clovis Adult School.
Earning your GED then.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I didn't go for a GED.
You went back to high school.
I went to high school.
Okay.
I finished out the full course. I didn't go for the GED because I had further ideas, further plans.
Mm-hmm.
My idea even then, the reason that I wanted to go to school was to demonstrate to our young people that the importance of going to school, that they can go to school even under hardships if they just make up their mind to do it. My case is the hardship was that I was raising a family. My kids were at that time were from 3rd, 4th grade on up. I had 7 kids. I had a big family, and so I had to run my barbershop. I had to keep activities within this area in the center to keep our people interested. And during that time, there's about 63, we held our first annual Indian Day celebration in North Fork. And I was chairman of that group for about 9 years, I guess, till about 1970, 71. This was a fundraiser. It was a fundraiser for us, intended as a fundraiser. It was intended as a recreation. It was intended to get the Indian people together, to see one another and try to get closer together, to get a harmony and good feelings for one another. Because Indians are, I guess, just like a lot of other people, they have a tendency to be jealous of one another or kind of hostile in some respects. So this was hopefully to kind of break down the barrier there, as well as being a good visitation. And at the height of some of our the latter years that we held it, we were getting around about 7,000 people, not Indians, but Indians included. On a two-day show, we got around between 6,000 and 7,000 people up to Norfolk to see our program, which involved Indian dancers. We brought in some good Indian dancers from the Bay Area, because here our Indian culture was decimated during the time I was telling you earlier. That included our knowledge of our dances and things, even knowledge of our dressing in particular, and things like that was gone to a great extent. So for a shortcut, then we just went up. We hired a good group out of a Bay Area to come down, and they did a good job for us. Very attractive. Did some good dancing, hoop dancing, and things like that. That was very attractive, and attractive enough to keep more people coming. And the number of Indians was very substantial. I would say perhaps pretty close to 1,000 maybe, because they were coming in from everywhere, from LA, from San Francisco, up and down the valley. In a lot of the Indians that had left this area because of economic reasons.
Then were they probably Yokuch or Miwok or Mono then?
Both.
Both? Okay.
All three.
Okay.
All three. They were Miwoks, Monos, Chukchansis, Wakchumnees, and we had a lot of people coming from Dunlap, Auberry, Sycamore. It was really an attractive celebration. I thought we got a lot of compliments on it, so I assumed from that we've done a pretty good job on it.
Haven't used the Monachi. I haven't said Monachi yet, and I wanted to not leave them out. Because you mentioned Dunlap.
There could have been. I couldn't really identify them if they were Monachis. I'm not sure where they bounded, because they're kind of intermingled. There's a lot of little tribelets in that area. I remember one time Mrs. Collins that used to be in the welfare department, and it was her job to service the Indian communities. And she said that you can't believe the different number of Indian tribelets along that Kings River, and she knew a lot of names. And I never got a list of it, and I never really followed up on the opportunity there, and I should have.
Why do you think there are so many tribelets?
Because maybe I didn't come to that, but because California was rich, like I said first, had a lot of food, and it was easy for a little group to go off down here 10, 15 miles, get to themselves. They liked being independent, so they'd start their little group. They'd multiply. They were quite healthy. They had a lot of food and good healthy food. So they multiplied. And then again, I said that they had fandangos. One of the big fandangos that they had was during the fall when there's salmon. They had tribelets from all the different areas. They'd send their group in to get the salmon. While they were getting the salmon and stripping the salmon, drying it, they were socializing, having horse races, having hand games, singing, dancing, kids playing, and they had those other games that the Indians played in those days, like those croquet, or whatever it is. I don't know. I can't think of the names of those games that they did. Something like basketball, something like football. They had those things going. Horse racing. Indians always like to gamble. They just love it. Today it's still saying they like to gamble, and so they play hand games with the bones, 4 bones, and then about 10 or 12 sticks.
What would they do? What was that game like?
Well, the 4 bones would be divided into 2 plain bones and 2 bones with a black stripe around the middle.
Okay.
Well, two people would on the opposing side would get these bones, and the opposite side know who had the bones, but they had to tell where they had to guess where the black, they call it black bone, and the white bone. They had to guess which hand those were in. And when they guessed right, they got a stick. When they guessed wrong, if they had sticks on it, they had to pass it back. So games would take 2-3 hours, and the stakes were pretty big at that time, because people around would bet on them. I would say in the years ago it might have been maybe a bundle of salmon might have been a bet, or anything like that. But then there was another place where different young men and women they got together and socialized and got married and whatever you want to call it, and got out of their bloodline, and if I remember right, I think I could be wrong on this, but I think the husband had to go wherever the wife go with her little family, go to her family, go to her tribelet, and that's where he changed and make his home with the new tribelet. And where were we now? Kind of lost.
All right, I wanted to go back, and since then, in the 1980s, obviously the Sierra Indian Center is an organization in the community, and you've been meeting up at North Fork for an annual event.
We had been up to about 71.
71.
Then we turned it over to the local, turned the celebration over to the local tribe up in North Fork, which they've run ever since. They have it every year. They've had it since 1970. I think it's 71 that we turned it over to them.
They just finished having that, I think, at the end of July or the end of August, didn't they?
1st of August.
1st of August.
First weekend of August.
First weekend of August.
Yeah.
North Fork Days.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you go this year?
Yes. Went up there and took in the sites there. Didn't participate. I just went up there and socialized like the day was created to be a socialized occasion, and met people. Ate some good Indian bread, Indian taco,
Good nuts.
acorn, got some good acorn, and they played baseball. You know, good clean fun, and quite a few Indian people that you don't see it. I might not see them till next year again. Some of these people.
I heard from Jane Wyatt that a grant was just approved for the Picayune Reservation.
Yes.
Osama Roundhouse Picayune Reservation. And
No, they're two different places.
thank you. Please clarify that
Yes.
for me.
Picayune is made up of the Picayune Reservation per se. I mean, it stems from the reservation. Wasama is up in Ahwahnee, up in Oakhurst, on the other side, about 15 miles on the other side. That group is intermingled with Chukchansis and Miwoks, and they have a tribal house up there. But they're two distinct, separate groups. There's other than just friendly relationship. In fact, some of the members of the Picayune Council works and helps with a booth to raise money for the Wasama group.
Are you Picayune then?
That's where I originate from. Yes,
Okay.
Picayune, Corso, Picayune. It's a synonymous. It's within 10 miles, actually 6 miles.
But you just got a grant that will help to build a medical clinic up there, or a health clinic, and do some improvement for the community, I believe, right?
No. Where that's in the hopper.
Okay, all right.
It's not. It hasn't been. I don't think it's unless within a very short time. What they did get a grant for was for housing from the HUD. They got it was okayed, and it's the money will come shortly. With that, they will build or remodel 10 homes for the area. I think I'm pretty sure that they're not allowed to buy land with it. So the holdup now is that we're trying to get somebody maybe donate some land, or we're trying to we're searching around for other grants so that we can buy some acreage there and build some new homes to bring to allow people to come home that haven't lived up there for years because of economic reasons. And it's almost I think it's $290,000 grant. It's a big grant.
You felt good about getting that grant then? Yeah?
Very good, because this, to me, it kind of it stimulates the interest of Chukchansi people in the organization. They're very skeptical, very suspicious. They just don't.
We are beginning with the second tape in conversation with Mr. Henry Jones, Chuck Chansey, on September 1st, 1989. This is tape 2 in this conversation. Mr. Jones, you were just talking about the work that you're doing, the Picayune Council is doing. Would you please continue?
Yes, I was just mentioning there that we had a lot of work to do to become legal. We had to get a constitution, get that ratified, sent back and accepted by the Department of Interior. Then we had to get up election ordinances and enrollment ordinances for enrollment, and we waded all through that and finished up around about I think it was about April or May or something like that. I think it was about April we finished it. And once we got that put together and accepted back up in Sacramento, then we opened up. When I say we, I'm talking about the council. See, I wasn't a part of them officially. I wasn't an official part of it, but I worked with them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a member because I didn't live on the Picayune reservation. There's 19 people that are on the council that were people from the reservation per se. The rest of us were Chuck Chances originally from there, but not living there now. So we had to get up an ordinance and an enrollment so that when they opened it up, then we could come in that way. We could apply for membership, which I think close to 100 have done already since we opened up in April or May.
So you're now a member there now.
I'm a member there now. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm the treasurer. I was appointed just temporary here about a month ago because the former treasurer had, for some reason, just couldn't carry on any further. So they volunteered me in that position. This was after I become member. I couldn't until then. So with that, we hope to get other types of grant. One grant that's in operation now is a hot meal grant for the Indian people, the indigent, the elderly, and so forth. And I just saw a figure here yesterday. While I was signing all the checks, I saw the chart there saying how many we had served 800 meals in 1 month.
800 meals in 1 month.
In 1 month, yeah. We have that many people up there that really needs a little supplement to what they do have.
And that's by federal grants also?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm not positive whether it's federal grant or whether it might be a state grant. I'm not real positive on that because I haven't been involved in finances only for about a little over a month now, a month and a half.
I think you just recently also purchased a van, didn't you,
Yes.
to distribute those meals?
Yes,
right?
that's for transportation to serve those meals. I was amazed how many meals was served out in the community. The ones that are able to come have transportation, they can eat I think it's 3 meals right there at the course school. They have a community hall there. They have tables and chairs and it's set up for that purpose. But there's quite a number of people elderly people, wheelchair people that can't come easily, so they take the meals with them. It's quite a few. The latest thing that we're working on, it's just all talk mostly right now, but hope it's something to really look forward to. They're talking about bringing in a coal generator, I think they call it, where you burn little pellets for fuel down through a cylinder about a little smaller than this room, about 10 feet circumference.
About 10 feet in circumference.
Yeah, and about 12, 15 feet high, just a tube like. And that's fed down through there and mixed with water and creates a huge amount of steam. And on the bottom side, out of all this comes a form of gas. They named the form, but I can't think of the technical name. Form of gas, which is funnel piped over to an engine that runs a motor that is attached to a generator that creates electricity. And my understanding is that if we get that going and if we get it done, that PG&E by law is obligated to take whatever we generate. They'll have to buy it from us. That in turn will pay for the project that we're working on. And the project is a $20 million project. The project itself could, for one thing, if they wanted to do it, it could be the excess hot water that comes down through the tube, through the coal generator where they burn all the stuff and it comes down through and generates the gas. The water part is funneled off to the side. It could be, some places have created a hothouse with it and raised a garden year round. And then when the water is used there, the excess water goes down into a little lake right below it, and they said that there's some sort of a fish, not fish, but some kind of, something like a clam or oyster or something like that can be raised. That's not the name of it, but it's something in that, I think in that family, some kind of special that's, I guess, pretty good to eat. Could be raised and sold for probably more likely a profit. Or he's telling also, I got a pamphlet on it, or they could funnel that hot water within a 5-mile radius, and assuming that there may be the reservation may extend around this coal generator, and they could pipe that hot water to each home for heat within a 5-mile area. That it's hot enough. It's tremendous heat is generated when it goes down through that tube or whatever you want to call it. And on top of that, it would provide a job for 6 guys round the clock to oversee and run the plant, because it goes night and day. It's an 8-hour shift year round. There'd be 6 guys that have to do that. That's 6 jobs for somebody. They would have to truck the pellets in. They probably use several trucks, I imagine. That is, there again, there's 2 or 3 drivers. On top of that, the company that wants to put it in would buy 10 acres of land for the council. 10 acres. And give it to the council with the understanding that this company could put this project up for us. And we'd pay them back in a 30-year plan, $20 million. 30 million in a 30 years it'd be set up to pay for it. The people that run the company, they to finance it, they would float bonds, get that $20 million from the public with some good interest for the public. So it would pay for itself. PG&E is forced to buy the electricity, and they estimate that we could generate about $2 million worth a year of energy that the PG&E would have to pay the council. But then they in turn would have to pay back for the bonds, pay a certain amount on the bonds, on a 30-year plan. They'd have to pay the people that's working around there, and pay for the pellets that come in to burn, to generate the heat, things like that.
really an important project for the community.
Good project. Excellent. Project. And I'm highly excited about this because this could help put people to work. The house, if we decide to go there, we'll probably keep 2, 3 men, women working in the hot house.
It is really. One of the things I know too is always a constant problem up on the mountains is good drinking water and being able to process. Could that water that was the hot water, could it also be processed so it could be consumable then?
Yes.
Okay.
It could be filtered.
Yeah.
It could be filtered because most of the impurities out of it, because they're raising a garden.
Yeah.
It has to be pretty pure water to raise that, to use on the vegetable that we're going to eat in the hot house. No, it's pure. In fact, another thing that it does too, when it's filtered down through those those pellets after they're burned to a crisp, becomes charcoal, which is a good filtering element. They use these on a lot of our filters that we use, like on our cars and things. We could sell that back for a little profit. Good. Yeah. But the water would be pretty. It'd be pretty good. It'd be pure, pretty pure. Yeah. It could probably be filtered a little more and really purified to drink if they wanted to go that way. That's a good point.
Yeah, I know there's a tremendous problem up in the mountains for good drinking water.
That's a possibility. But then I imagine it will take a pretty good amount of water to keep that plant going also. So might not be that abundance of water around, so they might decide to use some of that water for drinking. They could do it. They could use it after they've watered the hot house with it.
Yes.
Run that down instead of going into a pond. It could be going into a pond, but from the pond they could pass it through a filter, clean it out good, pump it on back to the homes. Yeah. But it's pretty good water already though, because it's usable on the garden, which is something we're gonna eat. Okay, now let's see what else we want to know.
I want to ask you a question here to kind of draw it together a little bit.
All right.
Because I sense we're up to the present. The present includes. Go ahead.
Can I tell one more project that we're on?
Please do.
This has to do with the Sierra Indian Center. Now we've been talking about the Picayune Council, and I belong to both. Right now, in the Sierra Indian Center, we're putting together American Indian Awareness Day on the 4th Friday of September, which is the 22nd this year. That is the day that Governor Reagan 20 years ago proclaimed as California American Indian Day, for a recognition of the many contributions that the Indians have given to society, which included fighting for this country. A lot of Indian boys died for this country. Yes. So we don't look at it as really a celebration. What we're putting on, we're putting on a program down here at the Radio City Park and right next to the Fresno Arts Museum, right down the corner of Hearst and Clinton. This park is going to serve as a kind of a display area for us. We're going to have a multiple amount of booths in it. 9, 10 maybe booths. They're going to demonstrate basket weaving. We're going to have one booth with some little gal, and then talking to the kids. And we're trying to involve kids, especially kids that are studying history, California history in particular. We're talking about 4th, 5th, 6th graders. And the school is excited about this, so maybe they're going to cooperate. Yeah. And we want to get these youngsters to looking at Indians as we are today. We're not going to dress up. We're not going to give them a stereotyped of Indian look. I'm going to go like this. I'm a barber. I'm an Indian, Chukchansi Indian, but I'm a barber, and I work for a living. I pay taxes. See? But at the same time, we're going to let them know about some of our things that we've done, like basket weaving, hand game playing with the sticks and the bones and the clackers and things like that. Then we're going to have some Indian dancing. I think they will perhaps recruit some Indian dancers. My department is going to be telling the history. California, but this Chukchansi area in particular, to some extent what I'm telling you tonight, the history of this area. A little bit from right on back where I started earlier with you. Not quite in depth as that, because I think I'll be talking to a lot of youngsters, but I'll leave a lot of the political stuff out of it, but I'll bring them on down. And my job is going to be telling the history. I'm going to have a little room in the museum there. They got a little hall in the kind of meeting hall or classroom hall or something that can be used for that. So I'll be in there. In addition to that, we're gonna the Clovis Central Valley Indian Help, which is a big organization for us. It takes care of a lot of our health needs. They went to a meeting last night and invited them to come out there and join us, and they said yes, glad to. And they're going to come out and have an information table there, and they're going to give free blood pressure test anybody that come by and wants to see how the blood is running there, and legitimate. Not no fake. It's going to be legitimate. It's going to be recorded, and hopefully. There's another organization that works with Indian people. We're inviting them, what they call CIMC. It's a consortium that has to do with getting the younger generation jobs. They work in particular to get a lot of the young people goes to them, go to get firefighting jobs in the summertime, things like that. That's their specialty, is looking for jobs for youngsters.
CIMC?
Yeah.
Do you know what the California Indian
Manpower Consortium.
Okay. Oh, consortium.
Consortium.
Yes.
Consortium.
Okay. Yes.
Consortium. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're gonna hopefully get them. We're gonna hopefully get Turtle Lodge out there on 99 Highway, other side there. Their specialty is in regards to alcohol and drug addiction, and we'd like for them to come there and show the society that we're trying to help ourselves. To me, this really isn't a celebration. It's like the word indicates, American Indian Awareness Day. We want the society to know that we are here. We want to make them aware of us. We want them to realize they can look at me dressed like this, that I'm Indian. I don't necessarily wear a belt or a feather, or once in a while I wear a belt buckle, but that's really the extent. And that's what the celebration is, or the event is to create awareness. And like I mentioned, the Clovis School District, the lady I was talking to yesterday, she said that they were excited, some of the superiors were excited that if they can convince enough people that they might go district-wide with it in the school system and bring kids out in the grade level that I mentioned, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. They said they might looks favorable, she said. So that's to indoctrinate them into the Indian stories, Indian production, and Indian history through me. Should be quite an earful for the youngsters.
Great.
Yeah.